Thanks for tuning in to the Peoplz and Dragons. The following presentation is the result of active players in the community who dictate the actions of these characters by way of the Peoplz and Dragons interactive RPG game show. If you're enjoying the content, then please like, share, and maybe subscribe. If you want to join in on the action, visit our website at pndrapg.com. Episode 1. The King is Alive. We see an armored vehicle coming to a full stop at a red light amidst a busy intersection in Haven Square. Within this vehicle are AllDatJazz and Ali, shoved between two tough and grimy looking mercenaries, rifles in hand, smelling like blood and sweat. AllDatJazz gains consciousness to find her and her daughter Ali bound in heavy metal forearm and ankle shackles between a small heated debate amongst their captors. Sitting across from AllDatJazz and Ali are two mercenaries, one male and one female, debating on whether or not they should betray the network and abort their task of hiding their hostages or stay loyal to this new and expanding criminal network. The merc on the right turns and faces the other directly. You aren't looking at the long term here. No, I am. I'm thinking about living longer, okay? As long as we can. That's long term. Kilo, listen to yourself. Look at who we have here. These two bitches are royalty. We'd be rich forever if we sold them to the character. You didn't even know who they were until I told you. What difference does that make? This is BizQuirks. This is the bag right here. No. We just got into this network, and if what I'm hearing is true, this network is going to get us deep into some action and money. So let's at least get a feel of our partners before we go stabbing them in the back. One of them is a G-type that fucking manipulates souls. Let's be friends with them for a little bit. Suddenly, her brother puts his rifle up to his sister's face. I didn't want to have to do this, sis, but goddammit, you're holding us back, and this is a big bag right here. See, her older brother has a different way of doing things, but he can't deny that her leadership has gotten them this far, all the way up to now by landing them this gig. But no way will he give up this opportunity. It's well known that the caretakers instantly recruit you if you bring them important people. Kilo looks over at the other two mercs guarding their captives. You all are just gonna watch this? Are you also betraying me? Her brother shouts up front to the driver, "Hey! We're doing this. Take us to GOKEN." We see the truck make a hard left turn and head straight to GOKEN District. AllDatJazz begins laughing. I take it you are not familiar with Rhalegarian political figures? The thug next to her shouts, "Shut your fucking mouth, Rhalegarian filth. You're worth a big bag, and that's all that matters." Suddenly, their vehicle is lifted off of the ground and into the air. Everyone in the back gets bumped around. The merc shouts out to the front asking what's happening. We cut to what appears to be a big Hope aircraft that has latched onto their truck magnetically and begins to fly away with them. We cut to the inside of a large oil refinery filled with stolen vehicles and lifted shipments of various goods. We see an entire guild of renowned thieves surrounding the armored vehicle that they lifted. One of the leaders steps forward. He announces to his hostages that their weapons won't work, so stop trying. We cut to the inside of the vehicle where all we hear are the clicking of gun triggers being pulled but no gunfire. The treacherous mercs looking at their own guns confused. Ali starts laughing at them because they all look really stupid while shooting what seems like toy guns. The entire Ali's World fanbase also watching the live stream through Ali's contact lenses, laughing hysterically at her hijinks. "Hey, shut up," he whispers, just before three brolic men usher them all out of the back of the vehicle along with the driver and passenger, and has them all line up in front of their leader, who personally approaches AllDatJazz and takes one big whiff of her hair. Smells like retirement to me. As the entire den of thieves begin to cheer and scream, the mercenary shouts, "We found her! She's ours!" His sister rolls her eyes. The leader walks over to him and dumps an entire SMG clip into his chest, killing him dead. He signals to have the body dumped and to lock up all the other hostages and leave the Rhalegarians where they are. AllDatJazz warns them of the mistake they are making by holding them captive. The leader points toward his 3 buff cyborg guards and says, "I feel bad for the Rhalegarian soldiers who have to try to come and get you. Do you know what those are?" The thief is referring to the type of cyborgs his trio was. Very high end in the realm of bodyguard machines, you know. I'm going to give you my phone so you can call your people and discuss how much you're worth to them. Ali stands up and points her finger at the leader and shouts, "Y'all want to see a dead body?" And suddenly, flying through the ceiling and crash landing in the middle of the thieves, the leader, and the cyborgs is R-Type X, the force from the impact blowing everyone and everything back, his wanderer's cloak flapping amidst the wind born from his arrival. Who the hell is that? R-Type X donning a new highly advanced nanotech suit under his cloak as we see it climbing up his neck and forming a helmet and face mask around his head. Through his vision, we see a threat assessment of all his enemies in a 50-meter radius, including Ali's world live stream in the corner, cause he's a fan. We see music being cycled through a catalog designed to match the threat level. Cyborg 1 fires its entire forearm at R-Type X like a rocket. R-Type X, with his arms folded, tilts his head, dodging it entirely. The fist flies past him, and just as it makes a U-turn, an energy clone lands on top of it and rides it into the fray, leaping off of it and into the hordes of thieves, all with their weapons drawn. The leader shouts, "Kill them!" as the gang runs toward the dozens of energy clones falling from the sky. Ali, AllDatJazz, and Kilo get up and run into the truck, but Kilo runs directly into several jabs and a roundhouse kick that sends her flying out of the truck. "Damn, Ryu, you hitting ladies now?" Ali playfully shouts. R-Type looks at Ali, then AllDatJazz, and tells them to wait inside of the truck, and then returns to guard the entrance of the vehicle by forming an energy shield around it. Cyborg 1 continues to control his flying fist and sends it into a horde of energy clones and explodes on impact. He generates a new fist and engages the real R-Type X, who is walking toward him. The cyborg throws a combination of several heavy haymakers, all while a machine gun erects from his chest and sprays gunfire. R-Type X effortlessly evades the blows while the bullets crash into his energy shield. R-Type X forms 2 swords of energy into his hands and thrusts them both into the chest of the cyborg, causing a malfunction in the machine gun. Then he spins while ripping the energy swords through him like butter. Cyborg 1, now with one arm, turns and fires its arm at R-Type X, but R-Type slashes it out of the air, destroying it, and then slashes repeatedly at the air, causing waves of blue energy to shoot from his swords that rip into Cyborg 1, destroying it. We see 30 to 40 thieves going toe-to-toe with 12 energy clones surrounded by mountains of stolen goods. A nimble thief wielding 2 vibro knives can be seen slashing at a clone recklessly, but cannot land a hit. One of his strikes ends up cutting off the fingers of his ally, but he doesn't care. The clone sees an opening, dips under him, and sends a powerful knee into his stomach, then grabs him and throws him into another clone who plunges its energy sword into him, killing him dead before he is mushed to the ground. Cyborg 2 runs up to an energy clone and bear hugs it tight, then fires a blast of energy from its mouth directly into the clone's face, blowing its head off completely, then drops the clone to the ground. But the clone, still with life, lands on its feet and leg sweeps the cyborg to the ground as well. The cyborg falls and grabs onto the clone, keeping it on the ground with it as they both begin to wrestle and skirmish on the ground. The cyborg throws punches that demolish the ground as the clone evades them while pinned down on the ground, and then on the ground. The cyborg throws punches that the clone evades while pinned down, when suddenly another clone rushes in with a kick to the head, knocking the cyborg off of the clone, and then engages it in hand-to-hand combat until the cyborg fires a blast of energy out of its mouth, but is met by an energy barrier erected in front of the clone by two other clones on the perimeter. The cyborg plants its feet and its eyes begin to glow yellow. Libra reads this, and the two outside clones create a dome of blue energy around the cyborg and their ally clone as the cyborg explodes with great yellow energy, completely eradicating the clone trapped in the bubble with him, but is also ultimately contained. Without wasting any time, the two clones manipulate the barrier of energy containing the cyborg and its blast and sends it flying up into the sky. We see the real R-Type X pull his energy blade out of the neck of the thief, then turns and hurls the same energy sword into the sky at the floating ball of energy containing the cyborg, causing a massive explosion. R-Type X then calls his energy sword, now charged and glowing yellow, back to his hand. AllDatJazz and Ali watch as R-Type bodies everyone in the room without breaking a sweat. A thief runs up to the back of the truck and attempts to recapture them, but runs right into the barrier. The thief taunts R-Type's clone. "That's right, hide behind your magic wall stuff, you little bitch." The clone steps down from the back of the truck, and then the barrier expands out and encompasses the thief, bringing him into the barrier. "Yeah, you a bitch, you a little..." Oh. Okay. R-Type's clone stands before him with its arms folded. Ali shouts, "Keep that same energy, boy! Keep that same energy, boy!" The thief gulps and then resorts to extreme measures by pulling out a fission grenade stolen from their last heist, capable of leveling entire buildings. The clone senses the threat and energy dashes towards him as a third arm of energy extends from the clone's body and grabs the thief's hand, cupping both the hand and the grenade. The clone then generates an energy barrier around their intertwined hands and crushes the grenade, causing it to explode within the barrier, destroying both of their hands. The thief screams, falling to his knees, holding his arm. The clone immediately kicks him in the chest, shattering his sternum, and sends him bowling 50 yards into a group of his own allies like bowling pins. We cut to R-Type X evading powerful swings by the third cyborg, who is just too slow to land a hit. Cyborg 3 charges up an energy blast out of its chest when suddenly R-Type lunges toward him with a handful of energy containing 11 supernovas, then fuses it together with the charged yellow energy blade, impaling the cyborg in its core before its blast could escape its body, causing the cyborg to implode and be eradicated. R-Type X peers around the room looking for the leader of the thieves, as their numbers can be seen dwindling after being struck down and killed by his clones. R-Type detects the leader, but he is high above everything else as if flying. Suddenly, the entire roof of the oil refinery is blown off by the giant stolen Hope ship as it charges its massive cannon of bright white energy. The leader can be heard laughing maniacally from the cockpit. Ali and AllDatJazz's hearts begin to rush when they see the massive energy building. R-Type grabs AllDatJazz and Ali and begins running out of the oil refinery just as the ship blasts the entire facility, recklessly destroying all of their stolen goods and one of many bases of operations. A Rhalegarian ship comes flying around the side to meet R-Type at the end of the bridge as two more enemies block their path. The first enemy lunges with his vibro sword, attempting to slice AllDatJazz in half, but R-Type spins around, evading the blow and kicks the man's knee in, bending it backwards and breaking his entire leg as AllDatJazz activates the hidden blade in her high heel. When R-Type spins her back around, she impales the 7-inch Rhalegarian steel blade into his eye, then kicks him over the bridge. The second enemy starts to unload his laser rifle, one of the beams even grazing Ali's shirt as the entire world watching her livestream goes crazy from the close brush of death and begins donating thousands of bizquirks from the excitement. R-Type puts up an energy shield around them all and summons an energy clone of Ali. He grabs the clone by her hoodie and tosses it over the energy shield like a backpack. We see the energy clone of Ali flying through the air, screaming a powerful Rhalegarian war cry, then lands and rolls up in front of the enemy, gets up and starts doing the floss dance. The thief, confused and distracted by the glowing blue child, hesitates when suddenly the energy Ali detonates in a bright, energetic blue explosion, destroying the thief and the bridge. The Rhalegarian ship comes around now that the entire area is clear, and R-Type tosses Ali onto the ship along with AllDatJazz, but not before AllDatJazz hugs R-Type vigorously and looks him in his lost eyes. R-Type murmurs, "Go," and the ship flies them away to safety. The giant Hope ship comes flying around, charging up another destructive beam at R-Type, who is seemingly stranded on the collapsing bridge. R-Type turns and looks at him through the cockpit. His nanosuit's mask disengages, revealing R-Type's face, staring up into the bright light. Spiraling energy surrounds R-Type and he begins to hover a bit off of the bridge. The leader begins cackling. "After I kill you, I'm gonna go get what's mine. Time to die, hero." He presses the button and a massive wave of white, destructive yet sanctified energy fires from the cannon and is headed towards R-Type. R-Type holds one fist out and zips directly towards the bright beam, like a torpedo of spiraling charged blue light, cutting right down the center of the blast, unfazed by its power. Spelled out in giant Rhalegarian letters across the sky, we see "Extracting charge of hidden rhino, burst, charge, rush attack." The leader sees these words, confused by where they came from, when R-Type bores through the cockpit of the ship as time seemingly slows down. We see R-Type spinning 1,000,000 times per second with his hand and fingers pointed as they bore into the epicenter of the leader's body, bursting open with blood and guts all over the seat and buttons of the cockpit, from R-Type burrowing right into and through his body and out the back of his seat and through the end of the vehicle. We see R-Type free-falling with his arms folded, not even looking back behind him as the ship explodes, lighting up the GOKEN district sky with white and blue flashing lights. We cut to one of GOKEN's largest rivers and see R-Type X walking out of it and begins drying off his scarf that usually is draped around his face, when he suddenly senses the energy in the sky get even closer in a matter of seconds, which sends his senses into hyperdrive and gets his heart racing. He turns around and sees a massive humanoid figure in all white with green veins descending from the sky and blanking right in front of him and landing on the water's surface, and seems to be here exactly for him. R-Type looks down at himself as he feels that this being's presence is triggering a reaction of his fulfillment energy that he absorbed from the Survey Days belt. We cut to the instigator, who's watching through his monitors. He says to himself, "What a waste. Finish him." Thanks for watching Peoplz and Dragons, the interactive RPG game show. I encourage everyone to jump into our comment section to participate in the lore contests, as well as visit our Patreon page to learn what perks come with your support for our machine. Peace.